Good morning, people. Thank you all for joining us. Hopefully, everyone can hear us okay. If you can hear us okay, just give me a thumbs up in the chat or say hello, introduce yourself. Whatever you want to do, any indication that lets us know that we are able to be heard. But look, thank you for joining us on a Wednesday morning. I'm sure everyone's very busy. So we really appreciate your time this morning to learn more. About what we're doing and what is changing in marketing. So this is our quarterly webinar. It's called What's New in Digital Marketing. This is our quarter 4 2025 edition, where effectively we bring together people within our team. So we've got somebody from our paid media department, we've got somebody from our technical department, somebody from our search engine optimization department, and somebody from our design department, where we just take you through what's changing in the world of marketing. And there is a lot of change in the world of marketing at the moment. I'm sure you can all appreciate. I'm sure everybody on this webinar is in some form of marketing position, if not leading a team. So what we're aiming to do here is bring you that information on a quarterly cadence to make sure everyone's well informed along the journey. So a very quick introduction from me before I hand over to the team who will be taking you through all the updates. So I just want to tell you a bit more about the business. I'm sure some people on the webinar are already aware of us or even a client, but for anybody who's not fully aware of us, so with the Digital Maze, we are a full-service marketing agency. We're based in the Midlands, in Derby, to be precise. We've been going for the best part of 15 years now, and we're very much split 3 ways as a business in terms of our core services. So we've got the SEO team, we've got the PPC team, and we've got the design and development team. And we've got about 30 people working full-time within the business as well. So that's us. Hopefully that gives you some confidence that we know what we're talking about. Like I say, we've been in the game a relatively long time at this point. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our head of PPC, Emlyn.
Thank you, Rob. Just going to share my screen. See that okay? All good? Yeah. As Rob said, I'm Emlyn, the PPC team lead. I manage all our advertising across Google, Microsoft, Meta, LinkedIn, and more. I've been around in PPC for about 7 years and worked with B2B and B2C clients as well as charities and all sorts of companies, ranging from tiny startups to massive global companies. And yeah, I've got about 5 years experience managing a team. So I'm going to be looking at what's new in the world of PPC. Largely it's AI, as you can imagine, but also the importance of combining usual human intervention with AI, so how you can use a combination of the two. So first update from me, a bit of Performance Max, Google's main campaign type. Pushed very hard in 2025, of course, and will be pushed further next year as well. So what is Performance Max? So it's a combination campaign of all campaign types all in one. So you've got YouTube, Google Discovery, Gmail, Display, the whole lot all in one campaign type. And it uses AI to decide which campaign type to focus on to get the best results for your budget. It requires both written ad copy, images, and videos. So a bit of written traditional advertising and more creative style ones as well. It typically works well with Google Ads accounts with a lot of conversion data. So if you have 1 to 5 conversions per month, it's probably not for you. But e-commerce and lead generation accounts that get sort of 30 plus conversions, it works quite well. Advertisers who adopt Performance Max typically see an average increase of 27% more conversions at a similar ROAS or cost per conversion. That's according to Google. So that's a bit of a recap of what it is. But the most recent updates, of course, for the past few months, is the Channel Performance Beta, which uncovers previously hidden data. You can see the impressions, clicks, conversions, or purchases, or any other relevant KPI, and it's broken down by campaign type or network. So you can see now if it's Gmail or if it's YouTube or paid search or shopping, which is delivering the the best results. That was previously hidden, so you couldn't see that before, and there was a lot of feedback from users that it was black boxed and not very clear on where your ad spend was actually going. So it's important now that you can see all that, because you can make decisions on which to optimize. So for example, if your YouTube video isn't getting very much traffic, or sometimes I see that there's a big spike in traffic when first launched, but then it goes down because it's not working very well, to upload a new video, or test out different lengths of video. Or there's also insights into which headlines or descriptions are working. So you can look at which campaign type is performing best or which is worse, and optimize to improve them. But you combine AI with human intervention. Anyone can sort of report on things, but it's what you do with the data that you're presented with. So it's important to use AI and human intervention as well to use the data and write compelling ad copy that resonates with the users to get the best results. So other Performance Max updates. So there's asset insights as well. So as well as campaign type, you can also see which images or headlines or descriptions or videos are generating the metrics. And as I say, you can swap out ones that aren't performing very well. And with doing so, you can continuously adjust your assets and hopefully improve metrics over time. So other Google Ads updates, another big AI push this year was AI Max for search. So what it is a campaign option in paid search, and it's kind of the PMax equivalent of paid search. So you can set that at a campaign level, and it's simple as just ticking the little box. So what it is AI-driven bidding that will automatically adjust bids to maximize either your conversions or your conversion value, depending on on your goals on the campaign level. And it's smart search term matching. So it'll use Google's AI to understand the intent behind searches and serve more relevant ads. Automated creative optimization. So similar to a responsive search ad, it will rotate headlines and descriptions to get the best results, essentially. So whatever your campaign goal, it will automatically with AI rotate and put the best performing headlines at the top. And also broader reach to push your keywords further. So these 4 bullet points sound very similar to other features of Google Ads. For example, AI-driven bidding is very similar to automated bidding. Smart search term matching and broader reach is very similar to broad match keywords. And of course, the third one, the rotating of headlines, is very similar to responsive search ads. So it's basically a combination of all the automated and AI-driven features all in one. And best practices, similar to PMax, you need to pick a campaign that has high volume. So if you have a low number of conversions and you turn it on, what typically happens is it broadens your keywords, but they kind of turn less relevant. So, if you have a quite a strict theme that you want to target, you turn it on, and if there isn't the conversions to scale up on, it will often go into some no value search terms. And also you're going to want to keep URL expansion off, because it will serve ads for any web page on your site. So if you don't want it to randomly serve ads for like a blog or an About Us page or something, you're going to want to turn that off, unless you have like a narrow amount of pages anyway and you don't mind where they land. It's just to prevent any wasted spend on anywhere in the site you don't want it to serve. And as I say, keep a close eye on search terms, because they will get broader, and with broad match as well, you can end up wasting spend on certain search terms, but you can improve that over time. You might see initially there's some poor quality ones. You use negative keywords to filter them out, and it should improve over time. But within the digital maze, we tested AI Max for search on a client in a campaign, and the conversions improved by 50%, while cost per conversion also improved by 36%. So more leads at a lower cost per lead. So it's a good result, and we're testing that elsewhere as well. And Performance Max and AI Max for search is all part of Google's AI-powered solutions that they named the Power Pack, which is seemingly for making Google Ads more AI-driven, easier to use, and higher performing. But it does lead to broader keyword targeting, higher spend, and more assets you need to upload. So when I say there's still a lot of human intervention within Google Ads, probably more than ever, because you need to steer the AI solutions into the right user base, your target market. You need to, steer all these AI features to the target market so that you're not just spraying to everyone with a huge amount of assets. So it still has it still needs a lot of management, because Google is incredibly high cost per click and very expensive. So you want to make sure that it's working for you and spending where you want it to spend. So in terms of Microsoft, just a little bit of a feature on Microsoft Ads Copilot. A lot of the features that get rolled out are following Google Ads, so there's a lot of similarities in what's being pushed. But a little bit of data on people's usage of both AI and search. So journeys that mix Copilot and search have grown by 85%. So not only are people using search engines, but also AI as well, especially when it's on people's phones. So an interesting stat that I found was that 38% of people increased their Bing usage after using Copilot. So there's obviously a bit of a race towards who can be the biggest AI engine going. And Microsoft is, of course, in that race. So it could be that over the coming months or years, people move over to Microsoft Ads. So it'll be interesting to keep monitoring that. And then for paid social, some interesting updates from the paid social side. So Meta Ads, there's a new feature, Advantage Plus, which has been rolled out in lots of different ways. There's a leads Advantage Plus for leads campaigns. They're now available globally. And you can now connect your CRM to the Conversions API easier than ever with integration partners API and Salesforce. So with third-party cookies being sunset, you can now use first-party data in a much easier way to feed Meta Ads with the most reliable and influential data, so that it's not just going for leads. You can set it up to go for more sales and arm the algorithm to target the best quality rather than just anything. There's also an automated lead generation feature that gives advertisers the ability to engage with leads on Messenger rather than inquiry forms or phoning them back later or WhatsApp. You can now chat with leads directly on Facebook Messenger, so it's a more seamless experience for the user. And as a business, you can connect with the leads a lot quicker with just using Messenger. Something else that I've been keeping track of is that Meta Threads continues to grow. So in terms of short form social media, it's actually reached the same number of daily active users as X, or formerly known as Twitter. So there's been a bit of a battle, and Threads has caught up with X now. So that's becoming a much more viable advertising platform. And you can, of course, advertise with the Meta Ads platform on Threads as well. So that's important. And then a couple of updates from LinkedIn as well. So the ability to book Calendly appointments is being rolled out on the LinkedIn Ads platform. So usually you can go from LinkedIn, send them to the site, and then Calendly, they will book an appointment with you on your website, but you can now do that directly in LinkedIn. So it's less barriers. So hopefully improve conversion rate and get more demo bookings or appointments in the diary. And secondly, they've also rolled out the ability to optimize bids for conversion value. So rather than just conversions, you can set revenue goals and get the algorithm to optimize for them. But that's all from me. That's my email. But if you want to add me on LinkedIn as well, I'm the only person on LinkedIn with that name, surprisingly. So feel free to add me, and we can talk PPC if you like. Over to Neil.
Hello. Let me just share my screen. 1 second. Hopefully everyone can see that. So hi everyone, I'm Neil, the SEO team lead here at Digital Maze. For my section, I'm mainly going to be talking about AI and mainly AI overviews and AI search engines and how that's affecting SEO performance. There's a lot of change in the SEO world at the moment, but I'm going to break it down into clear sections so that hopefully everyone understands. But before I get into SEO and GEO, I'm just going to run through a couple of updates from Google Search Console, which I think are important. So the first one got rolled out last week. It's something that people have been asking for a while. But essentially, you can now add annotations into Google Search Console. This is really easy to do. You just right click on your graph and click annotation, and then you can kind of give it a description which kind of explains what you maybe did on that day. So it could be, say, a big content update on the site or a big technical change, and then you can track the performance of that. So that is really useful. A couple of other changes in Google Search Console. So they've also recently added the option to filter between branded and unbranded queries. This does use AI, so it's maybe not 100% accurate all of the time, but it does allow you to differentiate between what clicks you're getting to your branded term, but also to your unbranded term. And to find that, you just click Add Filter and go to Query, and then there's now these two extra options for branded queries and non-branded queries. And then on top of that, and kind of similar to that, is this idea of query groups. So GSC will now, within Insights, it will group together keywords that are similar. So here, kind of American fridge freezer is grouped together with plumbed American fridge freezer, etc. So again, this just gives you a really easy way to see the performance of different content pieces at the same time. But now I'm going to move on to the main part of my presentation, which is going to be on the impact of AI overviews and the importance of human written content within this AI world that we are now in. So first, quick explainer of what AI overviews actually are. This was formerly called Search Generative Experience, but it's now AI overviews, and I'm sure you've all seen them. It's the box that appears at the top of the results page and gives a overview of your query. Estimates vary as to how much these appear, but around 15% at least, we think, at the moment here in the UK. What are AI search engines? So AI search engines are what you would see within maybe ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, etc. These are based on a large language model, which is then combined with a search index to kind of give the results that people want. Obviously, the way that people interact with an LLM is completely different to the way that they do interact with Google, but it's becoming more and more of an important search engine that we have in SEO. And then on top of that, Google has also introduced AI mode. This was officially rolled out in September. It's essentially a supercharged version of an AI overview, and it allows you to kind of carry on the conversation of your first search query. You can kind of have a more multi-part conversation with it. But at the moment, indicators are that it's not being used that much. So I'm assuming Google is going to try and find ways to encourage people to use it more as time goes on. So who's using AI and how are they using it? So at the moment, we believe that ChatGPT has over 800 million active users and handles over 1 billion prompts a day, which is pretty mad. The ChatGPT app has got 45 million downloads every month. And an interesting stat is that 84% of UK marketers say that they use an AI tool daily. I know that we do ourselves here as well. 71% of these are for search, but only 14% of people use them daily for search. The impact that this has had on Google is that Google's dominance in general search queries has dropped from 73% to 66.9% from February to August. So that's quite a big drop in Google's dominance of search. Moving on to how this has actually impacted SEO performance. So traffic and visibility has been impacted by AI overviews, but it does depend on the content type. Some studies have suggested that there has been a click-through rate of around 34 to 46% when AI overviews appear on the results page. So that's quite a significant drop. And also an Ahrefs study found that the click-through rate of position 1 in the results page has dropped by 31% when AI overviews are on the results page. So again, this is quite a big impact, and there's some more information there on some of the impact of AI overviews. In terms of user behavior, we're finding that AI search is not yet taken over from Google, but it is changing the way people search. So people are wanting to find the answers faster. AI search provides those answers fast, and they don't often have to click through to websites to find the answers that they want. Language is often more conversational and natural, which I think everyone would agree is the way that they tend to interact with ChatGPT more so than Google. The user behavior is being affected by this as well. So where do we think AI search is going? I think this graph is quite interesting. So the blue graph is the predicted annual visitors by traditional organic search. And as you can see, from 2025 to 2029, the expectation is that this will drop. But the red line is LLMs, and that obviously rises over time. And the green line of total, you can kind of see that overall it'll balance out eventually, but there may be a time when traffic from ChatGPT, etc., exceeds that from Google search. But in terms of regular search, users are still more likely to click through to a site for commercial and transactional quick queries. So like e-commerce quick queries have not particularly been affected by AI overviews. And Google's market share is still not 90%, but that figure is dropping each month now. So there's still a lot of opportunities for optimizing for keywords in the right way, both on Google and in AI engines. It's not all bad, as I say. Good SEO is still good SEO. Good content is still good content, and we're finding that the traditional ways that we used to optimize for Google search do have a good impact on like ChatGPT, Gemini as well. And we found that visitors from AI search are on average 4.4% more valuable than those from Google. So this shows that there is actually a really strong conversion rate for this traffic. So it's definitely something that I would encourage everyone to focus on going forward. So I'm now just going to move into a topic which we get asked a lot, which is how important is human written content in the world of AI. So obviously AI is useful and quick for producing content. So people are asking, do they still need to make human written content? While AI content can be produced quickly and at scale, we would always say that yes, they do, and I will come on to why human written content is important. So a quick explainer of whether AI generated content ranks as well as human written content. The short answer is no, not as well and not as often. Research from 20,000 URLs shows that the more AI content was on a page, the lower it was likely to rank. So this is a really key figure that I think everyone should take away today, that if your content is largely AI written, it probably won't rank as well as properly human written content. Google did say in 2023 that AI content would not be penalized, but it is against some of Google's search guidelines because they do, as of 2025, the Google quality raters instructed that the lowest rating applies if all of the content on a page is paraphrased automatically or AI generated. So that does tell you from Google, the source, that your content will be downgraded if it is AI written. And also, it does also come back to the helpful content update of 2022, which was a massive update in the SEO sphere. And the HCU rewarded content that was useful, demonstrated expertise and knowledge, and leaves the audience satisfied that their needs were met. And the key emphasis at the time was on original expertise and insight, which obviously AI cannot deliver because AI only builds content based on content that is already out there. So by definition, it cannot be unique, which obviously does not meet for HCU standards. So GEO, this is what SEOs refer to as the optimization of content for AI engines. There's obviously not as much insight out there as to how you should rank in those AI engines, but we can see that a lot of raters that Google uses are similar to kind of ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, etc. But we do know that short sentences and answering questions clearly can help you appear in AI engines. So a question, is AI content useless? No, it's not. There's certainly a place for it in digital marketing, but we would always recommend to not just exclusively use it. It can be useful for creating plans and briefs for content. It can help you edit your content and make it read better. So it's good for support, but it's not a complete replacement for human written content. So the three key takeaways from my presentation are that good SEO still works, experience still matters, so you need to show that your content comes from a place of experience, and original insight will always win. So your content has to be unique and original if you want it to rank well both on Google and in AI engines. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. This is the SEO team here at Digital Maze who have helped me put this presentation together. So thanks to them. And yeah, my email is here if anyone wants to get in touch and has got any questions. I know we'll be answering a few questions at the end of this presentation anyway. But yeah, I'll be handing on to Liam now.
Brilliant. Thanks, Neil. So hi, I am Liam. I'm just going to share my screen. And I am the technical director at the Digital Maze. I've been doing this for about 15 years now, generally lead the design and development teams here and worked with lots of clients over the years. past 2 years, I've spent a lot of my time looking at everything that Neil and Emmeline have spoken about in the world of AI. And today I'm just going to go through a few updates on some of the 3 core kind of AI agents, because there's been quite a few updates over the past couple of weeks. So first up, we have ChatGPT, who I'm sure everybody knows about by now. They released probably about 3-4 weeks ago a new version, which was ChatGPT 5.1. There was no major updates with that. It was just a little bit quicker, a little bit better at reasoning, more conversational, I think was the headline that they used. And the most important thing that they've released recently is the Atlas browser. So that is a new web browser that they've actually kind of built on top of Google Chrome. And it allows you to use ChatGPT in context with whatever website you're on, or a spreadsheet or anything like that. It's just over there on the sidebar for you to query away, to save you flicking between different tabs and copy and pasting information. If you use ChatGPT, I would probably say download it because it is quite useful. The other feature they released was something called group chats. So before, again, you could share a chat for somebody else to see, but you couldn't really collaborate on it, or you could just copy and paste information. Whereas now you can actually share a chat with ChatGPT to up to 20 people. So this can be used for anything really, whether it's a work-related project or something that you want to share or get people's insights on. You can just invite them to the chat. And likewise, outside of work, you can collaborate on researching holidays or Christmas presents and things like that. So actually quite a useful little feature. The kind of early preview mode is their app store. So this does exist to an extent at the minute, but they've opened it out to all developers at the minute. So if you want to write an application or a plugin for ChatGPT, you can, and submit it to the app store. Very similar to the Apple App Store. Apps need to be approved and things like that. But I think over the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be lots of new third-party tools just to connect the dots between ChatGPT and other systems, which will probably be quite useful. And then just as a quick roundup on ChatGPT, with all of the updates, I still think this is probably the best for everyday use. It's very versatile at most tasks, whether you're wanting ideas on things, you're researching, you want it to bug fix a little bit of code and things like that. It's generally pretty good at quite a lot of different things. And then we move on to Gemini. So historically with AI, Gemini and Google haven't been that great. They released a version of 2.5, it was about 6 months ago, which was still not that great compared to the likes of ChatGPT. But I think it was the end of last week or early this week, they released Gemini 3, which is something they've spent quite a lot of time on. And where this excels versus ChatGPT is in image generation and their VO tool, which is to create videos. They're really cool and useful. But again, it's similar to ChatGPT in terms of catching up on its reasoning, its conversational tone. You can submit quite large documents to Gemini 3 as well, and it won't time out or hallucinate as much and things like that. So it's getting there in terms of being competitive with ChatGPT from a versatile point of view. There's another feature which I actually quite like and use a little bit, Gemini Live. So you can just open up the app on your phone, point it at whatever you want to look at and ask it to describe things or help explain things that you're not quite sure about. At work, it's kind of a bit pointless, really. I can't think of any use, but if my son's trying to tell me about a Bluey character and I've got no idea who it is, it comes in quite handy then. And then something ChatGPT released about 3-4 months ago was something called ChatGPT Agent. It's still not very good, but it just allows you to say, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Can you browse the web, click this button, do this, do that, summarize this, kind of like a chain of events command. Gemini are kind of working on their version of that. I do think because obviously it's a Google product and they've got more integration with things like shopping and things like that, it will be more useful, but they tend to be quite slow. So if you've got lots of repetitive tasks and it speeds itself up a little bit, that could be quite useful. I still think Gemini is best for kind of the more outside of work tools. Lots of research it's great with, handling large documents it's great with, and the new image and video tools are pretty cool too. And finally, I'm just going to touch on something called Claude. This Claude as a kind of an AI agent is a lot more suited to technical work like development and things like that. They actually released a new version, which was 4.5, a couple of days ago now. And it's very much like the other updates, so you can submit more information to it. It's a bit quicker. It's better at understanding you. You kind of tend to go around in circles less with it. And it is actually pretty good if you use Claude for your kind of day-to-day. They did also release not quite a browser, but an extension for Chrome, which works in a similar way to Atlas, where it can just understand the context about what's on the page a bit better. And then there's lots of extensions for Excel at the minute, but they released their Excel extension as well. The thing that Claude lacked was on the mobile apps. They didn't have a voice input. They've announced that, but for what people generally use Claude for, voice is a little bit pointless, so I can't see many people using it. And then generally, Claude is best suited for technical work, lots of like long form content. It is pretty good at researching as well and browsing the web and things like that. So finally from me, I'm just going to talk about any updates that have happened in the world of Shopify and WooCommerce. So both of these are two of the biggest e-commerce platforms, and they are still going toe to toe on copying each other's features and trying to get market share from each other essentially. Starting with Shopify, they released their big kind of quarterly update the other week, and it was their winter 2025 edition. Previously, they've added lots of kind of AI stuff in and better things for developers to build themes and a few useful tools for shop owners. But their latest update, they've actually named the boring update because there's no cool new features or anything in there. It's just refinements, performance improvements, and lots of other boring stuff. Very small updates, nothing really worth shouting about. And then in the world of WooCommerce, they've been focusing a lot on speed over the past 12 months, really. So a lot of their previous releases have been around that, but also copying things like the Shopify checkout. The only major thing they've released as well is the cost of goods sold update. So you can actually put what the product costs you. It's much better for reporting and feeding into third-party tools so that you can calculate your margins properly. They've finally added in a autocomplete address, but that does require a Google API key, which can be quite expensive if you get a lot of traffic. But outside of that, it's really just performance updates. I do think behind the scenes, both of these companies, Woo and Shopify, are figuring out how they can integrate the likes of Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and other agents into their ecosystem, which is why there's not much been released over the past 3 months or so. So I think just to recap on the differences between the two, just in case anybody doesn't know. So WooCommerce is open source, which means as a developer or development team, you can write code and edit code and do pretty much whatever you want with it, which is great for complex requirements or kind of specific business case reasons and things like that, B2B portals and so on. Whereas Shopify, with it being a closed kind of setup, is more suited for simple stores, simple products. The more complexity you tend to add with Shopify, the more extensions that you need, and it starts to get a little bit more complicated. But both are really good platforms. And I think that's it from me. So my email address is just there, liam.nelson@thedigitalmaze, if anybody's got any questions at all.
Now you can hear me. There you go. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, I'm James Walsh, head of web design. I've been knocking around in the design world for about 17 years. I've done a bit of everything, print, digital, etc. Although the last 10 years of my career have been heavily focused on UI and UX, especially across websites and web apps. I've been managing teams for quite a while during that, but I got my start as a graphic designer rather than a web designer. And I also have an MA in illustration, just something I like to put on lists. It doesn't really come up very often in web design. So anybody who was on this webinar last time might recall me having a bit of a go at Adobe because they're a bit rubbish. But if you weren't around, just let me recap that. So Adobe are a bit crap because they're monopolistic, they're uncompetitive, and they're unresponsive. They don't fix long-standing issues. A lot of their apps are hard to run, difficult to learn. They're very expensive. Their pricing models are aggressive and anti-consumer. For example, we spend about £70 a month per designer to use their software, which is bloated, by the way. But they lock you in on an annual, so you can't cancel or renewal, all that kind of anti-competitive rubbish. So long story short is that Adobe is a bit crap. But as you know, as you're in monopoly, you're allowed to be because people keep giving you money anyway. But last time I was talking about the rise of some serious competition. This is Canva and Figma here chasing around Mr. Adobe. And I made some points about what they're good for last time. So just briefly, Canva is very good for new teams looking to dabble in design. It's very scalable, easy to share. You just need a web browser. Figma is building an ecosystem now. Very good if you're looking at the kind of work I do, web design, UI, UX, that sort of stuff. Good step up for teams from Canva, but not perhaps as great for non-design stakeholders and a bit more focused on, like I said, on the digital side rather than anything print production. However, there was a competitor I didn't mention last time, which is Affinity. Now, Affinity, for the longest time, have been making a one-to-one competitor to some of the apps in the Adobe suite. So they have Publisher, Designer, and Photo. And these are basically your stand-ins for InDesign, so anything layout-based, Illustrator, anything vector and illustration-based, and Photoshop for all your photo editing, etc., etc. Now, the reason I didn't mention these last time is these are still essentially desktop apps that were designed for individuals to use. They are charged rather than a subscription at a sort of per version pricing. So you would pay per app, per big major update that they do, like Adobe used to do. So interesting perhaps, but not enough market share at the time. And not a viable necessary, it's more of an edge case, like a Linux user versus a Windows user, more of a protest vote than an actual good option. However, some point in the last year and a half, Canva purchased Serif who make Affinity. They didn't do super loads with that purchase to begin with. They put Affinity on a 6-month free trial to try and, combat a lot of the stuff that was happening with Adobe. When Adobe had some major missteps, like outages, etc., they would capitalize on the marketing, that kind of thing. But in the background, they have been working away on something new. They have merged all of those apps into one app simply called Affinity. Now, this is interesting because if you work in the Adobe workflow, you'll recognize that jumping between Illustrator and Photoshop and maybe InDesign to do essentially one thing in 3 different apps is awkward and annoying. But what Affinity is it's one mega app. You can edit vectors, pixels, layout, so essentially do Illustrator stuff, Photoshop stuff, InDesign stuff. It does have some AI features, more on that in a moment, but it's in an all-in-one view, and you can see in this video here, the little colored bit in the top left is kind of switching between a workspace. So essentially it's going, I'm in vector workspace, I'm in pixel workspace, I'm in layout workspace. But crucially, it's one file, one set of layers where you can do all of that stuff in one app. So there's none of these dependencies of like having a Photoshop file linked somewhere but not embedded and all this kind of stuff. It's just one program. So the other thing about it is that it's also customizable. So I spoke about those workspaces. So you've got the vector, pixel, layout. You can see in this video here, somebody makes their own workspace called Frankentoon, and then in that workspace they just drag in the tools that they want to use, and it has like all the brushes and everything that they need in that workspace. So you can make sort of a combined workspace of your own that most suits how you work and the things that you work on. So if you've got designers in your teams, or you're looking to get into a bit of design, this sort of helps you out. The customizable element of it is like something that's totally new, really. The other thing is cross-platform. You can get it on Mac and Windows. The crucial thing to me, though, is that it's completely what we call non-destructive. So because of the technical debt of the Adobe platforms and how many features they have from years and years and years, there are lots of essential features in, say, Photoshop particularly, that do what we call destructive actions. So if you erase pixels from something or you apply an effect, that original thing that you dragged in is gone. So you're kind of like done. So on that, if you don't have the original file, the original JPEG or whatever you dragged in, gone and dead. Whereas this is completely non-destructive. So all of your layers will still be original. You can still go back to stuff, reorder all your effects, do all of that stuff. So in this sense, it is massively finally a genuine replacement for the Adobe Big Three. So if you're working in that ecosystem, yes, there'll be a learning curve to use this new interface. It's not huge. A lot of the same shortcuts and things apply. I've been giving it a go and I'm trying to get there because there's a crucial other element to this. It's totally free. So you can just go grab this now. This app is free. No licensing, whatever required, you just grab it. So as individuals in your team, if you're paying £70 per month per designer, gone. That money, like that cost saving that you could make. If you had a team of 5 designers, that is a huge cost saving every month. There is a caveat to that. If you do want to use any of the AI stuff, so like one of the only reasons I actually go back to Photoshop anymore is to use generative fill, to fill in backgrounds and spaces for hero images. But the good thing about that is that the Canva plan that you would need to have, because it's linked to a Canva plan, is a lot cheaper than Adobe, easily cancelable, a lot more sort of customer friendly. And the first one's about £13 a month. So you could still shop out all your Adobe stuff for this, and give it sort of a go. So I'm just here to sort of say, really, this is the time. I've been complaining for years and years and years that Adobe don't act on their users' needs. They put fancy new features in, they announce features that they never release, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just technical blow, unfinished feature after unfinished feature. We've finally got something that I think is a viable alternative to these applications, and it costs you absolutely nothing to give it a go. Will there be bits and pieces it can and can't do quite the same? Yes, that's the nature of software being different. There's I couldn't take a selection and turn it into a path, for example, which is a very niche thing to do, but it can do other things that I couldn't find easily in Photoshop. And the customization of the workspace and saving that as your own thing. Yes, you can customize a workspace in Photoshop, but you can't have a combined Illustrator Photoshop workspace. And that is something that's just really, really useful to me. So I'm here to sort of advocate and say, you've nothing to lose by giving this a go. You could keep it going, try and learn it. And if you find yourself comfortable enough with it, save yourself that money. Tell Adobe with your wallet that enough is enough. It's time to be customer first, customer focused, not chasing their investors all the time, and give it a go. Give Affinity a try. It costs you absolutely nothing to do it. I'm trying that myself right now. I'm finding there is a learning curve, obviously, to stuff, but it also pleasantly surprises me quite often. The other thing of note that I didn't put in here is that it can open Adobe files. So if you have like old files that you want to create, it'll bring them over. It takes a while sometimes, but you can bring stuff across and work on those as well. So it does have its own file system. It's not going to save you a PSD. It's going to save you an Affinity file, but it has to do that in order for it to be like this combo pixel vector layout thing. But yeah, give it a go. Why not? That is like the biggest news in the design world at the minute. This is only a few weeks old, really. And for once, it's not about AI. Nothing wrong with AI in this world, but an interesting update that isn't super AI celebrated. So there we are. That's all I've really got to talk about this time, because I think it's big and sweeping enough that it's kind of everything else under the rug. I'm happy there's an Adobe alternative, and hopefully once I've learned enough, we can tell Adobe where to go as a business as well. That's my email address. If you have any further questions about that, feel free to ping me something. But yeah, I'm going to hand back over to Rob now to sort of field some questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, so can everybody hear me? James, can you stop sharing your screen, mate, for me, please? Tom. Excellent. Okay, so I am going to go to the audience and fish some questions out first of all. So if anybody has any questions, do feel free to drop them in the chat. Just asking in case it gets lost, does Affinity support anything to do with video editing, James?
That's a very good question. I don't really do much video editing in my workflow. I would suggest that if you're working on video, you're probably better off in the world of things like Sony Vegas, what's the Apple one that everybody uses, and there's After Effects as well, but that is Adobe. If you're just doing simple social video stuff, CapCut's really good. Definitely look into that. Photoshop does have some video editing capabilities, I know that, but I wouldn't use it as a sole video editing platform, so it's not something I personally would be looking to replace. It depends on what level of video editing you're doing. If you're compositing effects, then it's probably not the software for you. That's where I'd point, like on the simple side at CapCut or something, like Vegas or competitors in that space. But yeah, it's not really a video editing piece of software.
And do you know if the files that it produces are bigger than usual?
Not particularly something that's really crossed my mind with it. I've not been looking and noticed, but what I would say about it is it's quite quick to load every file that I've thrown at it, other than importing Adobe stuff. But once you've got a native Affinity file, it's not really a problem. As anything like that, it's going to depend on how much you've put in there. If it's a file full of high quality photos and pixel based stuff, it's going to be a bigger file. If it's full of vectors, it's going to be a smaller file. What I would say is storage is cheap. Keep your files, if it's big, that might be the cost of the benefit of having all three of those things in one place.
Excellent. Any more questions from the audience?
I know I've answered a couple of questions in the chat from Emma and Alice. There was a question I know about whether or not they're planning to put adverts into AI overviews. I don't know anything about that personally on the SEO side. Emily might be able to help from PPC, but I would just add on that I do know that OpenAI, who do ChatGPT, are looking into how they can put ads into their platform. So that's certainly something that I would guess you'll start to hear a lot more about 2026. But on AI overviews, Emlyn, is there anything?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I believe they're using it in America and rolling it out to other English-speaking countries soon. But yeah, you can ask Google what it thinks about certain products. It'll give you a bit of an overview, and then below that there'll be a carousel of shopping ads. So yeah, as I say, that's in America, and soon over here as well, I assume at some point.
Any more questions from the audience? Anything regarding SEO, PPC, design, development?
You in the chat?
No. Oh, do you know of any possible tools or tech to help marketing full stack as a whole? So all-in-one tools, I'm going to presume. Anybody? I guess that could be all for all of us.
The organization tools that we use, I guess, that string it all together. Things like Monday.com, things like that. Management tools, Harvest, anything like that. Time management tools, that kind of thing. I don't think there's a single one-size-fits-all piece of software that's going to do everything you want it to do. To string a marketing team together, you're probably going to have to put together your own bespoke stack of what works for you as a company. There's certainly stuff out there that advertises as solving every problem, but you'll find that you have niche issues dependent for you and your team. So we certainly had that. We looked around for like mega apps for a long time, thinking it could do this, that, the other. But the reality is, different teams do different work, and the way that strings together requires you to go and have a look around and find out what tools you need for which job.
Thank you, James. Any AI tools for paid social creative, Emily?
Not personally. I suppose that would be more of a question for James, because I would usually ask either the design team or the clients for images, and they would make them.
There are tools within Figma for creating so like filling templates that you create. In terms of actually making the designs, you could probably have AI throw something flat together, like an image for you. But in terms of like an editable thing, you're gonna have very mixed results with that. My suggestion would be, if you're on a limited budget, is reach out to somebody on Fiverr, etc., or any trusted freelancers that have them knock together a very simple sort of Figma Buzz template if you look into Figma Buzz, because Figma Buzz lets you create multiple templates and then take all the things that you want to have in your creative in like a spreadsheet or whatever, import that, and it'll just fill in the different bits. So say if you've got like a header, a bit of buy copy and a CTA, but you want that to be different across multiple things and have a different image in each version of the design, Figma Buzz can do that for you. It's a really interesting implementation, and you can make a lot out of one template rather than having to create a new fresh design every single time.
Excellent. I'm going to take one more question because we are at 11:58. So very popular today, James. Can you export from Affinity to an InDesign file?
So it's early days with Affinity for me. I don't do lots of layout anymore, obviously working in digital marketing. I do know there is a big export suite in there though. So my suggestion would be grab it, open something up, and have a look at the export suite and see what you can do. I know you can certainly kick it out to PDFs, etc., but I'm not sure obviously if you're thinking about people working on it, cross-app workflow might be difficult, and probably not the best way to make sure things are perfect. If you're unfortunately stuck in a world where you are working with other designers who are going to be on Adobe and it's business critical, you might have to stay with that for now. But like I said, it costs nothing to download it, give it a go and find out. There might be certain features that just don't move across in the export, but if your files are quite simple, it might work. Then again, it may also just not export to InDesign at all, because I haven't checked that on the layout side.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, look, I appreciate everybody's time this morning. There's been a good few people listening to what we've had to say today. Thank you, James, Liam, Emlyn, Neil, for covering off our respective areas. Hopefully you found it useful. We are going to upload the recording of this to YouTube either today or tomorrow at the very latest, but there'll be an email circulated with all the information of that. If you do want to watch it back, if you just want the deck or some of the information within that will be available on our website very shortly as well. Excellent. Thank you again, and we'll see you again next time.
See you, everybody.